Larry, how can mindfulness and presence be a coach's superpower?
Clients feel when you're there or not. And when you think about the fact that change is intensely scary for most people, and that your clients are paying for you to move them through the process of change, you being present is going to help them feel safe enough to move through it. And if you're not there, they're lost and they're on their own and they're confused, and that's not what they're paying you for.
But I am there. I'm a body in space, and I'm standing right there. I'm talking to them like I'm there. What do you mean?
Okay. Have you ever felt like someone being in the same room with you, being on their phone, felt like less than you wanted it to be?
Yes.
Well, it's the same thing, man. Being in the room doesn't mean that you're actually there. Your mind could be anywhere.
So developing this superpower can help enhance the focus, reduce anxiety, models calm, and really it's an effective leadership tactic to instill with and for clients.
I don't think that you can lead without presence. You can model something unconsciously by just being wherever you're being and have people seeing it and decide they want to do it, but you're not leading.
It's active versus passive.
You have to be present to the person that you're trying to lead.
So we have 5 pillars for this. The very first one is mindful preparation.
Yeah.
Talk to me.
I think that many of us can relate to having life happen before work, and we feel like we are going into work or going in to see a person frazzled, distracted. And you can tell. You know what it looks like when someone walks in the room and you're like, this person's having a day. I think that negative impacts relationship more than coaches believe that it would. And I think hanging some of that stuff on the door before you walk in and creating this gap where you can show up with a certain quality, I think that's what's going to separate, making it easier for clients to want to pay you really good money for a really long time.
So what are some tools? What are some tactics? What are some examples of what this can look like, or things we need to focus on when we think about mindful preparation?
One of the things that I'm starting to notice about a lot of practitioners I've seen and know of all different sorts, whether it's doctors or therapists or coaches, or I'm noticing that their sessions are either averaging 50 minutes within the hour, especially if they have booked back-to-back sessions to create a 10-minute buffer between sessions, or even if they have a full hour occupied, they're leaving a 10-minute gap between start times, right? And what I'm seeing that's doing, and has certainly done for me, is create a space where you can metabolize or shake off or let go of or put down anything that happened right before the next person that you have to be present to. And so an easy one for me is just creating even 3 minutes of space where I'm not on my phone. I'm not talking to anyone else. I'm just shaking some things off and reminding myself of how I can be present to the next person. So that might involve simple attention to my breath. It could be bouncing up and down. It could be a number of things. It could just literally be sitting there.
Nice, energetic, set and reset.
Yes.
Okay. Transitioning from previous tasks. Does that fall into that 10-minute window as well?
For sure. So to me, I think that in between meetings or tasks, we're carrying some of what we were just doing, and you want to reduce mental clutter there because you don't want to bring other things that you're thinking about to your client session. So to me, two things that without fail help me reset are pogo hops and breathing. And it could be at or at the same time, but pogo hops literally shake everything up for me and just bring me back to where I am. And then breathing of a variety of different sorts. I used to do a lot of the Wim Hof style stuff, but I found that's serving me less than it used to, or that I thought it might. And just breathing in a parasympathetic and full way is really bringing me back to where it is. And it could even be just changing the scene, like leaving and coming back into the scene. So one thing that I'll do between clients is I'll literally just walk to the bathroom and walk back. Whether I'm going to the bathroom or I just run water over my hands or something like that. Just walking out of the room into the hallway, getting myself moving, my visual field is changing, and then coming back in, it's a reset.
Setting some intentions. What would that look like?
The statement that has helped me tremendously is there's nowhere else I'd rather be. There's no one else I'd rather see. It's it's paid me massively. And anytime I found myself drifting or thinking about other things that I was going to do that day or wanted to do, because let's be honest, we're all human. Sometimes clients don't want to be in front of you. Sometimes you might not want to be in front of a client. We have compulsions, right? Saying that really snaps you back into the gravity of what you're doing and how much it means that this person is taking their time and their money and their energy and trading it to be in front of you to get something. That's important, right? That's meaningful. And there's opportunity in front of you, and every session with a client is a gift. And so describing that really zaps me back to where I am.
That's a powerful frame to hold.
Yeah.
The one thing I want to touch on is this idea of having this buffer in between sessions. So are you saying when you're having a session with a client, you're scheduling on the hour and you are letting them know ahead of time that just because we have an hour scheduled doesn't mean we're going to exercise for an hour?
For sure. For sure. Our session can last up to 60 minutes, whatever the content of that is. Today, my client David and I finished at minute 49. And there was nothing else to do. It's nice outside. I was like, go walk on the boardwalk and get breakfast. We finished really, really fast today. Nice job. And that was the end of it. He was happy to leave. I was happy to have him leave. It was perfect.
That's a big mindset shift for a professional, I imagine, or a coach, because often they assume that the value proposition is the time spent, or even the client assumes that the value proposition is the time spent exercising.
They're not paying you for your time. They're paying you for outcomes. They're paying you for transition. They're paying you for change. If the stimulus and the dose that we needed today took 49 minutes to deliver, done. You don't go to the doctor's office, get a shot, and decide, can I just sit here for the next 20 minutes, even though you already delivered the shot? Yeah. You got your dose, go.
That's a really great frame that separates a professional from the other people in the industry who might see themselves as just a trainer or a coach.
Sure. And by the way, when I say you got your dose, go, I don't mean you got your exercise. If the reason that a session could take up to 60 minutes is because sometime life's going to happen and you're going to stop and there's going to be a 20-minute conversation you have to have. I'm not saying skimp on your clients and what they need. I'm not saying once their exercise is done, get them out of there. I'm saying once everything that they stand to gain from today is delivered, there's no reason for them to spend more time with you.
The second one, mindful presence during the session. So we talked about the pre-session rituals. Now we're transitioning into presence during the session. What does this look like? What does this mean?
Well, the first one that I think can serve people in a big way is breathing mindfully while you're in front of someone. For people that are new to meditation or mindfulness or have struggled with in the past, I think that we hear so often, like, focus on your breath, and it can drive you fucking crazy if you've had a hard time with that or you don't understand it or it seems esoteric or new agey or woo-woo or whatever it is. But when you think about the fact that you take 20,000 breaths a day, and if you don't do it for like 5 or 6 minutes, you're going to die. It's a pretty grounding realization that each one of these things that you're taking is pretty tightly linked to you literally being alive. And so I've found that breathing intentionally, or at the very least being mindful to how I'm breathing, is a very good way to be where I am in front of a client. So that could literally just be a practice. You can just decide if I'm scattered or if I'm feeling flustered or if I'm all over the place. You can just decide while I'm listening here, I'm just going to take smooth, even nasal breaths right now. That's what I'm going to do. And it'll calm things down a little bit and bring you where you are.
Yeah. There's an interesting, you'll notice that your breathing and the way that you breathe is going to set the tone for how your clients are going to breathe as well.
Say more on that, please.
During this, well, it's mirroring, right? When we get into that sympathetic nervous system and we start breathing high and tight, if we pay attention to the people around us, we'll notice there's alters in their physiology as well. They're going to start to mirror and match, especially if you're in the position of authority, which you are as the professional and as the coach. So if you're amped up and you're kind of breathing really high and tight, if you pay attention to them, they're going to start doing the same thing. Wow. If you get nervous, they're going to get nervous. If you demonstrate fear, they're going to start to demonstrate the body language of fear.
And they're not deciding to do that. It's happening unconsciously.
Yeah. Their system is picking that up.
So you remaining calm and grounded is going to help them do that.
Yes. Body awareness. What does this mean?
Yeah, I am constantly checking in with the position of my body. Not only because being grounded to what my body's doing and how it feels gives me a lot of clues around how I'm feeling, but it also gives me feedback around how attentive I am and seem towards my client. So posture does a lot more for us than just looking like we're standing up tall, right? I think that the way that we hold ourselves plays a very large role in how we feel moment to moment and how our clients will feel. In the same way you were describing that unconsciously they'll start feeling differently, they're going to make judgments based on perceptions, unconsciously or otherwise, and how you're holding yourself. And if you look tired and slumped or insecure or nervous, they're going to feel that way and they're going to see that about you and they're going to recoil from that. It doesn't feel good. Mm-hmm. So I'm constantly making sure that I look confident, that I look relaxed, and that I look attentive. And when I position my body in those ways, I feel confident and relaxed and attentive.
I like that. There's, one of the standards that we have at the flagship is there's 2 acceptable coaching positions. It's standing or kneeling. Mm-hmm. You're not sitting. You're not leaning. You're not looking like you're tired. The things that you're describing there.
Yep.
So if we think about that from the body language perspective, those are really easy things to grab onto. Stand or kneel.
Yep.
That we can then take into
for sure.
All right. Next one in this body position.
Yep.
So we have our body awareness and then managing emotional triggers.
Yeah. So this is true for anything that just occurs to you, like if you're stressed about something that happened or is going to happen, or if there are difficult topics that arise in conversation with a client, if they bring something up that's obviously triggering to them and you're like, I don't really know how to, this is rough stuff, right? You acknowledging your reactions will make it so that they don't take over and sweep you away, right? You being mindful of the fact that, I'm getting a little anxious about this topic. It creates a little space there, right? There's a difference between you being the subject of your anxiety. The object of your anxiety, and you zooming out and realizing, my body or my brain is experiencing some anxiety right now. You could back up and you realize, well, you're not your anxiety here. You realize that anxiety is passing through, and the zoom out, the part of you that's observing that anxiety is passing through is the one that can be grounded and calm, and that's where I try to live.
Do you acknowledge this externally, or is this an internal thing?
I think it depends on the context with your client. I think that there are a lot of clients who would freak out if you said this topic is making me feel anxious. I think there are other clients that, depending on how you say it, if they're feeling very anxious too, I think it can be okay to acknowledge that, but I would tread lightly there. I wouldn't want to let a client know that they're making me nervous if it were truly disrupting how I feel, unless I perceive that I'm not going to be able to deliver a good service right now. I can see myself getting to a point where I can say, like, I got to be honest with you. I can see how unsettling this is to you, and I want to make sure that I could actually feel grounded about this, and I want to make sure that I can just take some space to feel calm about this, because I want to make sure that there aren't 2 of us that are losing it. I can imagine myself saying that.
Okay.
There's no transparent to me. All my cards are up all the time. It makes things very, very easy.
Yeah. Leveraging silence.
So silence is really authoritative, and when you're actually confident, we talked about this on the Jefferson Fisher episode on Diary of a CEO, how he was talking about the next thing, the immediate response when someone says something or asks something, is to just take a breath and just create a little bit of space so they actually see you're thinking about it. Silence can ground you and bring everyone to the present moment. So if you think about being in conversation with someone and you say something and you expect some sort of answer, or maybe you're feeling very energetic or anxious about the thing and they don't say anything, after a couple of seconds of not saying anything, you're going to be looking at them like, what are you thinking right now? They're going to be waiting for you to say something. That's creating presence that you can't get away from. The silence will create a vacuum, and nature hates a vacuum. So you're going to fill it with your attention. You're going to fill the vacuum with your attention if you create space.
It also does 2 things. It lets them know that you're actually listening.
100%.
Because if you and I are having a conversation and as soon as I stop, you're like, yeah, and this is what I was thinking about that. It just tells me that you were just waiting to speak. You give that silence, give the space. It lets them know that you're actually processing the information and taking it in really well.
Yep, that's it.
We also have mindful listening here.
Yeah, well, I think that there's there's a difference between, like you said, waiting for a client to be done talking, or like waiting for the word that you're looking for or that you want them to say or where you think it should go, and actually listening to whatever they're saying in the moment. I think a lot of times coaches are afraid of what happens if this doesn't go according to plan, or what happens if this goes off the rails, or what happens if this goes outside my scope of competence or confidence. And I don't think that's really anything to be afraid of, because I think that a lot of times coaches are afraid of either looking stupid, or like they don't know what they're talking about, or they don't know what to do, or they're caught off guard with something, and that's okay. We're all caught off guard there. I think that you trying to hide that is going to make everyone feel weird. You being honest about that it's okay, and you're going to model that you're safe if you don't know what to do in the moment. If you show a client that you get really weird when you don't know something or something's not perfect, they're going to be like, well, this isn't a safe environment. If he can't do it, I can't do it. So really listening to whatever they're saying means wherever they go is where you're going. Now, you have a vision and an agenda, and you're going to keep them on track for what the plan was today. But if you know what you need to do today, you can let them go way off in the weeds if they need to be there for a second. You could bring them back, but actually being attentive to that is going to be crucial, and them feeling like they could actually share anything that's important for you. And you want the important stuff as the coach, don't you?
Mm-hmm. Yeah. The other thing that it comes up with this, both active listening and leveraging that silence. And I've had this experience multiple times just in discovery sessions. When you're both actively listening and honoring that silence, you're going to wait until they're done speaking, giving a pause. And what you'll find out very often is that they actually have more things to say. There's more information that they're going to give you just by you taking that breath, let your breath be your first word, that pause. You're getting better information as the coach and as the practitioner, and they actually feel heard.
Yeah. And I think that there's more than words to observe here in mindful listening. I think that you paying attention to a client's body language, tone of voice. I want people to really take the license to trust how they're perceiving someone. To really give yourself the license to say, how the way that I'm reading this person is probably accurate if I'm really attentive to it. Right? If you have this instinct that someone feels a certain way, you're probably right. This is really old technology. Like this isn't our first rodeo of assessing how other human beings are feeling. Like, all social animals are perfectly wired to acutely, across a lot of nuance, read how other members of the social realm are doing. And you have it too. To varying degrees, I think people are better than worse, but I think a lot of it comes down to this presence and mindfulness that we're talking. And if you're really present to how someone's doing, if your gut says they seem relaxed and happy right now, you're probably right. If their gut says they're really nervous or they're pissed or they're anxious, that you're probably right. And so paying attention to all of that is going to be helpful.
Yeah. Not only in client interactions. I was talking about this just yesterday on the client experience lab with some of our ALPs, and in consultations. When we talk about pricing, sometimes I'll notice a shift in the prospect. Their face will change. They'll go to a closed off body language. Something will happen.
Yep.
And previously, before I had the skill, I would have just let that flow by, or even the ability to step into that discomfort. Now it's like, hey, I noticed something just changed for you. What's going through your head right now?
So wise, man, and so helpful. Because I think that a lot of people want to believe that they're hiding that, and then they feel exposed when someone calls it out. But if you can call it out in a way that's, well, I'm here to help. What are we dealing with here? They're going to feel like they can trust you. And I would give yourself the opportunity to read that honestly. You know, I can see when I look at you, your facial expression, the way that you're holding your body, you look relaxed. You look like this is a conversation you're interested in. You look like you're happy to be part of the conversation. And if something changes dramatically, it would be one that I would want to address with you because I care about you, right? Like, if you care about the person in front of you, why wouldn't you want to talk about that?
Number 3, and we're starting to make the transition here. So we're introducing mindfulness to clients.
Yeah. So if you find clients that are typically either scattered or distracted, or they just want to like get through the thing really fast, this is going to pay them dividends in their life. I mean, you can do a minute and introduce this whole new way of being or this set of tools that this client is going to start to take with them everywhere. And it's going to change the trajectory of their life. And they're going to start telling you, I did this thing when I was in this situation with my husband or whatever it was, and it was like totally different. That's the stuff that's going to pay them in a big way.
Is this the example that you would use for opening a session with some mindfulness?
You could. So I might, if I see someone rushing in, depending on the personality, I might say, cool, we're starting in this position, and it's going to be with their back on a yoga mat and their legs up on a bench. And I'm going to tell them where they're going to put their hands, and I'm going to close their eyes. I'm going to put a metronome on YouTube if there's someone that feels like they need a stimulus. And I'm going to say it's a 3 count in, it's a 3 count out. We're doing 10 reps of this. Go.
Yeah.
I'm going to open their eyes. I'm going to say, how you doing? And I'm going to let them tell me.
I love that.
I see a positive change way more often than not.
Yeah. I used this just the other day with a client at the flagship, walked in, and I was like, hi, Lisa, how you doing today? She's like, oh my gosh, there's this thing going on, and my husband and we're trying to move, and I got this paper due, and it's like all amped up. Like, great. So when you go into your session today, start with 2 minutes. Lay on your back, close your eyes, focus on some parasympathetic breathing. Let's start it off like that. Checked in with her after she started the session. How you doing now? I feel ready.
Wow.
Great.
Nice.
Right move.
Good catch. Well done.
Teaching simple mindfulness techniques. So what are some examples here that we can use?
So I think that there are 3 easy ones that come to mind. One is just teaching people how to be mindful of what their breath is doing. I mean, there are 1,000 ways to skin this cat. You can, why do we say skin this cat? We should stop saying that. That's weird. Who does that? Has anyone ever done that?
We can look up where it came from.
Let's change
Someone
it either way.
has done that.
1,000, yeah. There are 1,000 ways to go about doing this, but when you think about mindful breathing, it can be as simple as teaching your clients that, hey, I just want you to pay attention to what your breath is doing. It can be paying attention to the sensation of how your breath feels in a certain part of your body. A lot of people use their nose or their upper lip. A lot of people use what it feels like in their throat. Or a lot of people feel what it feels like in your ribs as they expand. Whatever it is, just it could be simply paying attention to the way the breath feels as it enters your body. It's going to calm people down really fast. The second one can be a body scan. So what do you notice in your body right now? Like it could be eyes closed. You're going to start at your head. Face, ears, neck, chest, shoulders, ribs, front, back, side, go to your hips, pelvis, thighs, knees, chin, calves, the whole thing. And just be like, how do things feel right now? You can't not be present if you're doing that, right? You can't be scattered if you're scanning your body.
Yeah.
The third one might be a visualization of how something will go that you want them to go, right? Or how something could go. If they're nervous about a thing, it could be intentionally visualizing how they would like the interaction to go. It's a good way to get people grounded and mindful around how things are feeling.
Okay. So we've got some good tools so far for in the moment or pre-session. What does it look like in reflection? Like what does a mindful reflection look like?
Well, one thing that I like to consider is, and this ties into the next point, it could be letting people project how something will go this week and reminding them that, well, look, we know this is going to happen. We know how you anticipate feeling. How can you see yourself handling this when it does happen? Right? Another one, if you're looking backwards or present, it can be asking clients to observe their thoughts and emotions in a way that isn't judgmental during a challenging moment. So if something's hard, you can literally just have them reflect on, all right, how are you doing with this right now? What's a thought that comes up? What's a feeling that comes up as you go through this? That's all. I'm not asking you to tell me what that means. I'm just asking you to tell me what you find. It's shifting from judgment to observation. That's the big shift that we're talking about here. And I'm not, a lot of people say, don't judge me, don't judge me, you're so judgmental. I think that's silly. We judge everything all the time. We have to. That's how we survive. I have no problem making judgments. The skill of observation without judgment can set you free.
Assigning mindfulness homework.
Yeah, this can be as simple as find out from the person, give them options, see which one seems more feasible. It can be, do you seem like you would have an easier time paying attention to your breath for 2 minutes when you wake up in the morning? Or do you feel like it would be easier for you to pay attention to your breath for 2 minutes when you're in bed before you go to sleep? Some people might say the morning because I have the energy and blah, 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 blah. Other people might be like, I could just imagine myself racing in the morning. That'd be hard. Doing it at night would be great. Just give them an entry point. Whichever one feels easier. It could be a really simple piece of homework like that.
Last one, modeling mindfulness in your coaching.
So we talked about showing them what it looks like, right? If you demonstrate presence and mindful responses in their interactions and showing them what it looks like to be calm and attentive, they're going to start to see what that looks like. So when a client shares difficult news, for example, and you pause and you breathe and you ask them an attentive, relaxed question, they'll see what it looks like to handle challenging situations like that. And they'll copy it.
Monkey see, monkey do.
That's it.
All right, number 4, mindfulness for emotional regulation and resilience.
Yeah. So the first one that comes up is just teaching people, like I said, to just observe and recognize what's happening. So, for example, one thing that I've found helpful is teaching clients to just notice and label what they're feeling instead of just letting the feeling sweep them up. And that increases self-awareness in a big way, right? So for example, if they feel anxious, it can just be them saying, oh, interesting, I'm experiencing anxiety right now, right? Or this feeling is anxiety. There's that separation.
I like that you're helping them accurately label it and not put it in these buckets of good or bad.
Never good or bad. Doesn't matter. Don't use good or bad. They're useless terms. They're not helping anyone. Just what is it?
Using mindfulness to manage stress.
Yeah, well, I mean, I think we've all heard this idea that breathing and meditation can help with that, and it's there for a reason. It's because it does, right? So if you take a minute to relax yourself, you will be more relaxed, and it's just a matter of tool and skill and practicing it.
There's an aspect of it helps you get into the present moment as well. So there's a presence to it, because people have talked about this in a bunch of different ways, but often that these feelings of sadness or depression come from spending time into the past, and anxiety comes from spending too much time into the future.
Yep.
So if we can find a way and not distract ourselves, right, with the mindless scrolling or the doom scrolling here, but what can bring us to a grounded place? I know one of the examples, like you enjoy comedy. I imagine that's a way that helps you get present.
Yeah. So
do I, by the way.
Yeah. So the comedy has been really interesting to me because there are two different ways you can do this. And one, if we're just trying to use our breath and just saying something to ourselves, that's fine. But sometimes we kind of need to be slapped out of something by something else. One thing that I found really helpful anytime that I have an overwhelming nervousness around something I'm going to do, I'll watch 5 or 6 minutes of a clip of a stand-up comedian that I really like, and I'll just start laughing. And laughing is awesome. Like, laughing dissolves a lot of tension. And I go into the thing with a really good mood and a smile, and it feels different for everyone.
Building resilience through non-judgment. What would that look like?
Yeah. So the thing that I think stands up for a lot of people is they start to tell themselves, and you could talk about this, they start to tell themselves stories about what this means about them, that they're feeling this thing or that they're experiencing this thing. And letting them start to observe what they're dealing with without just criticizing themselves is going to lead to growth. Like giving someone the space and helping them give themselves the space to be like, all right, you're having a hard time right now. Okay, you're not a bad person because of that. You're a good person that's having a hard time. And again, I don't like to use good or bad, but to be really reductionist and simple about it, you're a normal, well-intentioned person who's struggling with something. You're not a criminal, and you're not a loser. It's just you're having a hard time.
Yeah, to your point, it's for most people, it's not the thing that gets us. It's the meaning that we assign to the thing.
Yeah.
That gets us.
Yeah. Something that's really helped me a lot is as I notice that, I'll ask myself, all right, what is this trying to tell me right now? And what is this trying to tell me starts to point in the direction of what do I need? And from what do I need, I end up filling the void that's creating the anxiety in the first place.
Practicing acceptance and developing compassion.
Yep. So I think that we resist things that are scaring us a lot, right? And things that we're struggling with, we resist it and we fight it and we move away from it. But facing it and kind of surrendering to the frustration is going to do a lot for us. There isn't a step 3 without a step 2. So being able to say, yeah, I'm frustrated or I'm struggling right now. This is really hard. And when I say step 2 or step 3, I'm not associated with any 12-step program. I'm not too familiar with it. I don't know it. I have a lot of friends who have been through it multiple times. That's not what I mean by step 1 or step 2 or step 3. I mean, in any steps along the way to whatever you're doing, you don't get to the next thing you want to get through by skipping what you're going through right now. So honor what you're going through right now.
Yeah, to your point, most people try to fight it or run from it.
Yeah. There's nothing to avoid.
Right.
Be here. This is how the only way out. What is it? The only way out is through. Yeah.
Because, well, it only creates more of the thing by trying to fight it or run from it.
Yes.
That's what we don't seem to understand. We think we're going to avoid it and it's going to disappear.
Perfect. I'll just run away from this and I'll be fine.
Right. Not how we just end up finding more of it, and more of it ends up being created for us.
That's it.
Developing compassion. Did we talk about that?
We didn't. The thing that I have on this is teaching clients how to treat yourself with the same kindness that you would offer a friend, a spouse, your favorite pet. Like hopefully you don't treat them like shit, right? The idea is when you think about how you would treat a child or a pet, if you were otherwise relaxed and calm and they were having a really hard time, you would be kind, you would be gentle. You would understand what they were going through, and you'd be supportive there. You should try to treat yourself the same way.
Fifth and final, reflection. So we've gotten through the process. We've started to establish some of these skills. We've done the before, the during. Now we're talking about the after.
So this is really for you. This is where you can take a few minutes post session, for example, to reflect on, well, how present were you? And any moments where you were distracted or you were emotionally reactive. Like how did you do? Was there a moment that you're not really proud of in terms of your presence and your attentiveness and your mindfulness? What was that? What was the context there? How could you respond differently next time that happens? Do you think they felt it? Well, they definitely did. Like whether they were upset about it or not, they definitely are aware that that's there. If they have a lot of grace with you, they might let that slide and understand you just had a hard time, but it's a red marble in the blue jar. So how do we change that up?
Seeking feedback.
Yeah. So this one I think could be really scary for people, but I can see myself asking, curious, did I seem present to you today, especially when you were talking about that thing? If they say, yeah, you always seem present to me, I think, okay, perfect. Just wanted to make sure of that. I would move on from it. If they say, I don't know, you looked a little spacey today, that's really important for me to know.
Yeah, if you catch yourself staring at the clock and then be like right back into it,
yeah,
it's reasonable to assume that they felt that as well.
Yep. It's a fair assumption.
Ongoing mindfulness practice. So what does this look like ongoing?
Look, if this is a practice of yours that you have, just like hone your skills, right? So if you're trying to improve mindfulness, whether it's meditation or breathwork or body scans or whatever kind of grounding practices you have, practice them. Make it a part of your day. AM, PM, wherever it is. Just get better at it.
Set a testing window for it. You're going to try this for 3 weeks, 2 weeks, 4 weeks, whatever.
Exactly.
Professional development.
Well, if you're in a position where you think that you would really benefit from being guided or taught these things, or that you really need help because it's been hard, but you can see that this is a set of tools and skills that would really serve you well and it's an important one for you, sign up for something. Take a meditation class. Go on a retreat. Download an app. Hire someone.
Okay. So to recap these 5 things very quickly, we have number 1, mindful preparation. Our number 2, mindful presence during sessions. Number 3, introducing mindfulness to clients. Number 4, assigning mindfulness homework. And then last and not least, the mindfulness for emotional regulation and resilience. And then number 5 is our reflection.
Yeah. How you did and how you can be crisping that up.
Is there anything else that you want to leave people listening with on this topic?
I think that's a good dose. If we talked about the first superpower and unfair advantage being emotional intelligence, I would say that a powerful presence is superpower number 2.
Thank you, Larry.
Thanks, Cody.
I hope you enjoyed that episode of the Active Life podcast. If you did, please head to wherever you listen and leave us that 5-star rating. It really does go a long way. 5 stars goes a long way. Please leave them. If you're interested in working with us as a coach, remember, we help coaches from around the world build fulfilling careers, working with clients they're inspired to help so they never have to worry about being able to pay your bills again. No one's ever going to ask you if you are going to get a real job when you work with Active Life. All you have to do, head into the show notes, click the link that you find there, download our curriculum. That will give you a feel for what it is going to take for you to be successful. A team member of ours will reach out to you to find out if it's a fit for us to work together. Until the next show, turn pro.